These messages that can be witnessed by others and that I will show you in this video helps to verify almost all that Emanuel wrote about. You'll be able to see and hear this miraculous event yourself as you watch. Keep in mind that Budgie's speech is often difficult to understand in the beginning, but if you use headphones and go over the recordings a few times, you should be able to hear much of what I've captioned. I'd like to do a series of presentations that relate to the angel experiences Emanuel Swedenborg had. I'm starting with some of Victor's past recordings where he channels the angels. Through them, we will see how the angels communicate with us, and using some of Emanuel's experiences, I will demonstrate how they can be confirmed now. I believe we can put most of what the angels are saying to us now in one of the 8 categories I'm about to talk about. Each time we are in one of them, or even more than one at a time, I'll put a pop-up in the video to bring your attention to the area the information we are receiving falls into. I have seen the video where Emanuel wrote about how angels work within our desires, they can relate to our memory, how they operate within the truths we know, and how they are extremely loving and wise and are always with us. So here are some of the experiences that I have had with them over the years, and let's see how they can provide evidence that this connection is real. The first one that will often come up when listening to the angels is a prophecy alert. It will come up when the angels predict something that's going to happen in the future. It will also come up when they're talking about prophecy. So what did Emanuel think about prophecy? To tell you the truth, he has written thousands of pages on his experiences, and it would take me a long time to research them all, but as far as I know, he did make several predictions that were documented during his time, and influential people at the time were aware of them. The next one will be confirmed prophecy. Confirmed prophecy is something that the angels said and I documented prior to it happening. Keep in mind that all 3 of my budgies demonstrate consistent confirmed prophecy throughout their recordings. This presentation is only on a few of Victor's documented communications. Therefore, each presentation will only have a fraction of confirmed prophecies we have already experienced to present day within them. The third one is a Swedenborg moment. It'll come up when the angels are confirming some of the most important testimonies that he gave of his experiences, according to the limited amount of knowledge that I have researched on him. So there may be much more that I miss or others will find out in the future. The next one is angel encouragement. This is where the angels will speak in a way to encourage you to continue something that God wants you to do, or encourage you when you are experiencing setbacks in life. They will often build your self-esteem up and bring back memories of the past that relate to good things you've done. They will tell you what you are capable of doing and what they can do to help you in the future. This encouragement can also come through dreams and visions. The next one is evolving angel concepts. It will come up when they may be saying something that differs from what Emanuel experienced, or when they believe humanity as a civilization is ready to accept their new teachings and new philosophies. The next one is God's direction. God's direction is when the angels communicate a plan to help you achieve a godly mission, or if there is something that you are doing that you shouldn't be, they'll guide you away from it. They will have you avoid evil, and evil is often referred to as something that will prevent or try to prevent you from spiritual evolution. The next one is spiritual evolution. Spiritual evolution will be brought up often by the angels, for it is God's plan for humanity. They will often take you through the small steps that help you to achieve more spiritual evolution each time, and refer to instances they have seen in your past or future that set you in the right direction to join God and the angels in the future. And the last one is miracles. And they will speak of miracles, which will often come through the help of not only themselves, but humans, who interact with them and listen to what they are saying. These miracles often come with a reversal of one's evil thoughts or misconceptions that affects our spiritual evolution. A reversal of evil in oneself or group of individuals are promised by them through God to create miracles. Now I'd like to move on to the video recordings of Victor's first. I have many more of him discussing many aspects that I won't be able to add to this video. I had to pick out some of my favorites, and they are all in the exact order that they were recorded. Before I continue, I'd also like to mention that the angels have gifted me with the ability to translate and speak in reverse. I named the phenomena quantum reversals. The reasons they did this was so that people would not be able to claim that I taught my budgies to say all of these things, for it would be impossible to teach them to speak in both forward and reverse speech, like I demonstrate throughout the presentations. Later you'll be able to hear them talk about how they were with me over the years and how God and the angels were happy when they saw that I could put reverse speech to a good use, as it is often given a bad rap when you are not tuned in to the channel of heaven that I used. They have also said that those who are spiritually open should be able to pick up much of what I translate. There will also be a large percentage that are not, and may not be able to hear much at all. I recommend that you use headphones when listening to the recordings, and try not to focus too much on what you do not understand the first time through. Each time you listen, and as long as you are open with some belief, you should be able to pick up more each time. The first 9 clips of this presentation are from Victor's 70 lessons video, where he talks about how the angels and I will eventually produce 70 lessons for submissions to be studied in the future. So far I'm at presentation 47, but there are still many more that I have done and that I still need to do. So prior to recording this video, I had only recorded him on tape, and then I bought a camera. So this is what he said in the first recording. He starts talking about visuals. So he says, "Visuals are coming. Come visit here. Come see all." And then in reverse, he says, "A real event is on its way." I'm recording. So in clip 02, he says, in forward, "If I just repeat one way what he said, and then in reverse he says, you'd feel you'd have no interest in it." So that last part was how he first started talking about reverse recordings. So in part 3 he says, 70 lessons we will have in all as a true submittal. And the encoding that's used is a force of nature during the succession. I also want to mention how these quantum reversals work. So what I would do is I take the forward phrase. For example, here it says, "And the encoding that's used is a force of nature." I'd stop it after nature, and then I'd cut it and copy it and reverse it, and then I would get the completion of that sentence. So he's actually, what he's saying in the forward mode is being completed in the reverse section. So that's quite amazing. And this happens continuously throughout this recordings and the future recordings that I'll be presenting to you. When you watch this on YouTube, if it's too fast for you, what I recommend is that there's an option there that you can select to slow it down to about 80% and go through it a few times, which will help you to pick it up. So in this next part, he says in the forward, "There's a procedure achieved and it wouldn't be better and merits funding." In reverse, he says, "Right now, you're hearing Ryan leading on the mission. We serve with him for the best formula, while God is working, or while God is looking." What did you say about this? In this next part, the angels clearly ask for your help. And then they say, "He's slightly emotional," meaning me. And then you hear me in the background in reverse say, "I can't do it anymore." So there were times when I was having some doubts, and it was difficult to experience some of the negativity I was getting from others. So one of your questions might be, do the angels have a sense of humor? I don't know what Emanuel says for sure on this, but from what Victor says and demonstrates, they do have one. For example, in this part he says, "Yes, I might test the battery here. I joke that I use one. If you laugh in the face of true art, you're not really seeking the challenge when it goes deep. You may not know that it will usually send you a message." You joking? This is an example of what it might sound like slowed down if you wanted to do.
Joking?
In this next part, Victor uses the word streaming, which is very interesting because 20 years ago I don't even think too many people even heard of that. And he says, "Take a parrot Ryan viewed to put his strength in somebody, to witness expressing a new area of streaming." And then I say in reverse, "That's for sure." What are you joking about? In this next part, he talks about how universities can connect and how they can be linked together. And he says, in the foreword, his procedure is awesome. Others connect with universities and have a linkage with them. So in this next part, it shows how he uses symbolism and even uses words again that 20 years ago that we're using now. And in the foreword he says, "Lots of these audios may be fuzzy in this talking cloud. For you, this isn't talk and this is nuts." In the reverse he says, "The sounds we submit obviously are real. One must admit it needs a really professional seasoned witness." So that's more or less just giving those who listen a heads up that they're not going to hear everything right away, and that it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of practice. So this next video that I'm using is from presentation 3B, which is called The Spiritual Body, and it's another one by Victor. Keep in mind that I've had this name, The Spiritual Body, for a few years now, and it was interesting to find out that Emanuel had some writings based on the spiritual body as well. So some of this might correspond to what he said in that writing. In the first part of this, Victor shows his sense of humor again. He's talking about people that hear him for the first time and don't believe it. So he says, if he started showing this dialogue, meaning if their budgie started showing this dialogue, they'd have to enlist their doctors. You see, they tend to call me fake here. So in a lot of ways, I struggle in the same way as Emanuel did for getting people to believe it is real. At one point many years ago, when I had a large community, I announced that I was going to take the spiritual path and lost most of my support. This set me back for several years, but the angels never left me by constantly sending me dreams and even 2 more new budgies that developed full-blown speech in an incredible short period of time. So in the next part he says, every emotion Ryan had sure has a reason. It's really tough here. In this next part, he starts to talk about angels in heaven and says, but first you've got to believe the truth. Soon you will know for sure how to find angels and begin talking with heaven. And similar to Emanuel, he speaks of how the angels are more or less with us all the time, guiding us from evil. And this is what he said. A toast goes to all them, meaning the angels, walking around your house, stamping out evil. The next part gives you an idea of how the quantum reversals work when he talks about how we continuously console these souls. Through these recordings, you can actually hear our soul communicating with another on a different plane of existence, like Emanuel describes in his writings. Then Victor says, you should not believe all the concepts that you hear about evil spirits who are at war with us. So these are the angel's exact words in that aspect. We know as you console these souls, don't believe all these concepts that put us at a big war. In the next part, he starts expanding on how the spiritual body is and the angels that are around us by saying, we've all been blessed with a spiritual body, and we're given much to save us from suffering. God can help us to resist all the evil, and then I say in reverse, and give you wisdom. Look at me, Victor. In the next part, he mentions how they promise you that once you know what the truth is, you'll be able to find your way to heaven. And this is what he said. I'd like to promise you, once you know what's belied the truth, you're shown the way to heaven. Look at me. I've often heard over the years how we will be reborn and even return to Earth, so I've always assumed that reincarnation was involved. However, I never really heard the angels speak of it as reincarnation. They often spoke about how we will move on to the next level of spiritual evolution, though. So this next part fits in quite well with Emanuel's vision, which is, we will assume a better form of our physical body. There's much more on this in later presentations as well. So in the next part he says, actually, we will all have the right to come, that is, to heaven. We know that another love you'll find will be waiting for you. And that is also another important point that Emanuel made as well. In the next part, Victor talks about moving on to a higher spiritual level and who will be there. The amount of passion and emotion he puts into this is quite incredible. This too corresponds to much of what Emanuel Swedenborg wrote about from his experiences. So this is what he says. Oh, be different right now. You cannot miss it. An awesome form of life will be admitting you, so go. And then in reverse I said, and you have no idea. What are you doing under there? Victor often talked about a ship or a ship of religion and going on a journey. So in the next part, he symbolizes how other ships can dock here and learn how to hear the message that will unite the world. So he says, we're right to unite the world if they dock here. Tread slowly, or he could have said tread softly, in this world, and you'll hear it. In part 11, he talks about life's symphony and the song they sing. It's quite amazing that in the last part of this, you can hear my soul crying out saying, see me emerge, hallelujah, in reverse. So he says, your future is happy you connect with life's symphony, and the song is having people in our lives who can evolve. And then I say in reverse, see me emerge, hallelujah. Then Victor talks about how he feels as the truth comes out and how we will eventually feel it as well. He says, "Words free me. As things come out, you shall be free." I believe this next part is witness to Emanuel's testimony on how the angels use so much divine emotion, especially love, in the spiritual world when communicating with us. And Victor says, "And I feel all this love." And then in reverse I say, "You'd have to." And then Victor continues with, "Do you feel as fuzzy and excited too?" In this next part, you'll be able to hear a family member who said something to Victor in forward mode speak fluently in reverse too. Many of the forward parts I did not add in this presentation, so if you want to hear what they were saying in forward mode, you can either reverse the reverse speech, so it will be forward again, and listen to it, or go to the presentation and listen to the complete version. So this is the one that made me aware that those connected to me began speaking in reverse while I was recording the budgie speaking. And this is what they said. Family member in reverse says, "Does anybody really need these dimensions?" Then I say, "We've decided to pray. Are you tired?" A while back I strung together several funny clips of Victor that showed a sense of humor. Most of them were mimicries, except he added a little extra. These were some of his first recordings I did of him. So when I reversed the funny clips that were all in one short video, these are some of the results. So this is a complete quantum reversal with no forward parts, because he was only mimicking anyways. In this first reversal, Victor talks about the gifts he has received since he started the mission. So you're actually hearing this testimony from Victor. He says, "This has gave me some fantastic gifts. Such a mission is exciting, but different." This next clip is the first time I heard the angel speak my full name in reverse, which was quite amazing. He talks about how I'm building a house of prophecy that is free for many. There are a couple of parts in this one that are a little hard to hear, but if you use headphones, slow it down if you have to, and go over it a few times, you should be able to hear most of it. So he says, "It's like this will allow you conviction in religion, for sure. Yes, and everything that's in motion metaphysically has effects on you. He, Ryan Reynolds, knows he's building a house of prophecy here, free for many." This next part is where someone like the Swedenborg Foundation can help. The only way this is going to get out there is through friendships with others who are really interested in learning God's truth and experiencing the miracles firsthand. So he says, "We'd like to show someone our vision or our mission as a friend." In the final part of his funny clips, he tells us to look for a miracle in the formula we have here. I have no doubt that there is something special that is waiting for someone else to discover. So, he basically says here in the last part, this is assuming that we have found a friend. Try and look for a miracle right in our formula here. In the final part of this presentation, I'm going to review the Superconscious Bird Part 1, which talks about how God is involved in this and requested the budgies help us. When we have the miracle of budgies communicating like this, it's quite incredible. Once we realize that they are channeling God and the angels, it's miraculous. You will find this claim as consistent testimony from them that they are truly connected to God. So in this first part, Victor says, "Now I can talk because I trust that God has something good. Now you will see we will have something that we know God requested." Did you notice how the reverse video was kind of jumping? Unfortunately, when I recorded that 20 years ago, the format must be causing some issues in reverse. It does not affect the audio though. So in this next part, Victor realizes that I stopped the first part of the video and says that this part should be better. Then he starts talking about evolution again. So he says, "Okay, it starts better. Having a choice to evolve is part of life we surely should love." Did you notice in that very last part how the angels in reverse sang out, "We surely should love"? Let me play it again for you. In this next part, he talks about how we can use this help and why. And then he says, this part should be said here and make a difference. Some humans socially haven't grown, just sitting there when they watch TV. In that seat watching, we'll just know. And that's when we're going to help you.
Being recorded, Victor.
In this next part, he uses the word stream, which is probably something that we really didn't associate with videos 20 years ago. And he says, "See a picture of something new today. Picture helping me to emerge spiritually and stream this clear and true." So in the next part, he starts talking about the soul and says, "The center focus is the soul. Like a classroom, you, or it, shall evolve." Now the next part is really miraculous. In it, Victor stops talking, and like usual, I try to encourage him to continue, not realizing that he has planned it. In the previous statement, he hinted to what was going to happen as well. So I talked for 2 minutes straight in forward mode, which you can hear in the Superconscious Bird Part 1. Then when I reversed it, this is what I said. So this is what I said in reverse. Have fun as we approach everything. Yes, the angels are supporting us with my system. If you know how to do it, you can evolve in all of it. Part of you needs reverse to learn how to listen. It's much easier to see that reverse is now the channel you need. Earth will really use it. And if you pass the effort and throw passion on it spiritually, you'll receive some of the hidden messages for eternity. When you get to see heaven, this heaven is a reality. You're given serenity via divinities. You will get used to hearing this. Hearing prophecy here will bring spiritual gifts. We will visit the earth. Do you wish to be an angel? If you wish to hear angels, you have the right.
Herkene yine başına kendisi. Hiç vaziyeti. Hiç vaziyeti yok. Bir okuyayım. Herkene bir nu diye. Así es. No, no, ni. Así es, ama. Yine birisi. Yine racine. The salary, you know, the salary, yeah, the you would just get the yeah, and what's this? Yeah, the being he's not busy. You would just look here, yeah. You would just look here, yeah. That's right.
That completes this presentation. To hear more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or visit our website at theangelscrolls.com.